exercise is, and I've also defined what intimacy is. So I'll be talking about the next thing to talk about is the benefits. Like I said, this is International Women's Month. So we're celebrating all amazing women in the house. So what are the benefits? What are the benefits of exercise? Number one is that we have mentioned in the definition that it improves physical health and well-being. It enhances your mental health and your mood. It boosts your self-esteem and confidence. You know, there was a point in time in my life I was going to the gym. Unfortunately, because of time constraints now, I don't have the opportunity to go, but I still always long. Whenever I'm on my way to the gym, it feels like there's this power that comes upon me. I feel very alive. I feel very active. In short, and I don't have so much money in my account, but I know that, man, I'm exercising, I'm keeping fit. So it gives you that self-esteem, it gives you that boost, it gives you energy. Also, it helps to support weight management and body composition. And because we're kind of finding the link between exercise and intimacy, your love life. What does exercise do for your love life? Like I said at the beginning, exercise is not just good for your health alone. You know, so I'm a medical doctor. I'm currently doing my residency in public health, and definitions are very important to us. Something as little as validity has a definition. Something as little as cough has a definition. So everything, definition is very key. And so I was just thinking about this while preparing for this session. And, you know, health is the state of complete well-being, complete physical, mental, and social well-being. I thought about it that besides just physical, social, and mental, sexual well-being is also important. A lot of times we hush sex, and it is important because this thing is, God created this sex for pleasure. So why are we hushing about it? Why is sex life? It increases energy and vitality. It enhances intimacy and connection with your partner. If you see a couple that has good sex life, they have connection. You can tell, it is palpable. Nobody say chemistry. You can tell that this thing is there. It supports healthy communication and conflict resolution. If you're having good sex, for goodness sake, your conflict will not last long because you will resolve it on time. You will resolve it. You will resolve it So there was a day that I saw one lady really smiling. She just came down from her car. I think I was just on my way to work, and she just came down from my car. I was like, this woman, something would have happened either last night or this morning because it boosts your self-esteem. All you need is to have very, very complete God. God is awesome. He has made it in such a way that even our hormones respond to sex. Even our hormones respond to sex. So we have particular hormones in our body. They are called endogenous morphines, endorphins. They are produced or they are released by the pituitary gland in the brain, and they help to release some feel-good hormones. There are several of them, about 20 of them, and those hormones are they help us to stimulate feeling of pleasure, of bonding. For instance, oxytocin. I know many times we talk about oxytocin, and everybody says, "Oh, oxytocin when the woman is pregnant, when she wants to deliver." It's not just when somebody touches you in a good way, in a sensual way. Oxytocin is released. Dopamine is one of the, what I call it, anticipatory hormones. So dopamine also is released during exercise, social interaction. It enhances pleasure and reward. So what I just want to tell us is all these things are very possible. A good sex life is very, very, very possible. Very possible, and it is beneficial. We've talked about the definition, we've talked about the benefits. So please make sure you're having a good sex life. And if you are not, try as much as possible. It is an intentional process. It's not something that you just stumble upon. Like I said, exercise is repetitive. you plan for it. It's not just something that comes on you. It's something you plan. It is planned, it is structured, it is repetitive. So I'll be moving on to exercise and intimacy feel, and I have my slides here. Regular exercise improves physical intimacy and satisfaction. Exercise increases the feeling of desire and arousal. So if you notice that maybe there's something going on between you and your husband, incorporate exercise. You and your husband can have can do exercise together. You can have exercise together. It can be a collaborative effort. And afterwards, go into the other room and see the miracle that God does. This see one of the ministers has joined us. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. Communication in marriage is very important. Communication. We cannot overemphasize communication. It is like the bedrock of everything. It's the bedrock of sex. It is the bedrock of even exercise. Because before you go for the exercise, you say, babe, what's going on? Don't you think we should maybe sign up to this gym or stuff like that? Even if you can't sign up, because now gym subscription is quite expensive. If you can't afford it, you can have a designated place in your house where you do your aerobics. You can have a place in your house where you do your exercise. The most important thing is it must be planned, it must be structured, and it must be repetitive. Okay, so I was talking about communication. We have the verbal and the non-verbal communication, and it's important that verbal communication, I'm talking now and you understand what I'm saying, but there are non-verbal communication, especially in marriage. There are times when you might just have some gestures and you are in sync with your spouse that something just went on. Do you understand? Is very important in marriage. In marriage, as a woman, as a man, you should have at your fingertips the blueprint of what makes your partner feel loved, of what pleasures your partner. You should know what your partner likes. It's not something you say, oh, if I asked you, what does your partner like? You say, I want to go and pray about it. No, it should be at your fingertips. You should be able to understand it. You should be able to study their bodies to know what exactly makes this person feel happy. What exactly makes this person get to that point? Okay, so moving on, I would say that regarding communication, it's important that we have open and honest communications about sex. Sex is not an underrated topic. It is very important. Have open and honest conversations. What do you like? What don't you like? What did I do well? What didn't I do well? How can I improve? And that's why the space of vulnerability comes in. Intimacy is not complete without vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable to be able to express yourself. I know sometimes maybe our background, especially some people that grew up in very, very religious families, they might not have even had sex education until maybe during premarital counseling, which is very true. But I'm thankful that the Nigerian government now is even inculcating sex education into the schools, into like schools. So as more as a 4-year-old child should know what sex education is, should know their genitals, appropriate for their age. And as they progress, they continue. It's very important. Sex education is key. Yes, what else do we need to do regarding communication? Address issues early. Don't let conflict linger for too much. Address issues early as possible. Balance desires and expectations. Some people might have some very wild desires, while some people might be very conservative. Know how to compromise. And most importantly, the fact that somebody liked this particular thing 2 years ago does not mean that she will like the same thing now. I'm talking about sex now. There's some things that your partner might be doing while in the act of sex that you really liked 2 years ago or 5 months ago. It might not be obtainable now, or even before you had a child. Good partner, be intentional about understanding your spouse. Know what is obtainable. Research your spouse if possible. Research your spouse. Give room for flexibility. Be flexible. Don't be too rigid. This is how my mother taught me, or this is how I saw it in church, or this is how they taught us in premarital counseling, or this is how when we went to the sex therapy. Be flexible. There is no all or none. Whatever works for you works for you. Most importantly, and like I said, conflict resolution. Try as much as possible to reduce conflict as much as possible so that you can have a peace. and a wholesome sex life. So I don't know if anybody's. I wanted to just drop a poll. What do you think? Scheduled sex or spontaneous sex? Which do you think is better? Or should sex be spontaneous or scheduled? So you're the only one here. So I'll need you to just drop a comment now. Do you think sex should be scheduled or sex should be spontaneous or it should be both? So I'll be waiting for the answers that I'm hoping somebody else joins us so that they can answer. So the question should sex be scheduled or should it be spontaneous or should it be both spontaneous and scheduled? Okay, so I'm going to talk about because we're Christians.
Did you ask me to answer?
Yes, ma, please. Yes, so that we can have an interactive. Yes, ma. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so much, ma. And
for me,
okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Doctor, can you hear me, please? Okay. Okay, so for me, you know, okay, you can hear me now. All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
So I think it depends on what works for each couple, in my opinion. Do you understand? Okay, so because I'm saying this because for some couples, it may be something that comes naturally, you know. It may not be something that you struggle with, you know. And of course, you know, in marriages we have seasons as well. That's another point to factor. So maybe, for instance, let's say you have a baby, you know, you have an infant, you're a nursing mother, and you know that at that season of your life, you are going to be a little more occupied with your infant, you know. Something like that, you don't put it on your schedule. Because the truth of the matter is, you won't say, oh, you are not a child. Your sex life. No, you won't do that. You don't want to do that. So for someone like that, it would just be a wise thing to do, you know, to schedule it. But for some other people, maybe someone who probably just got married last month.
Absolutely.
I mean, you may not need it at that particular time. Do you understand? So I really believe that because this issue you're talking about is something I've seen a lot, you know, in counseling. I've seen a lot of women, even generally, you know, on social media, you know, I follow a lot of other relationship counselors. You hear counselors talk about the fact that, oh, I recently dealt with a case of a couple that had not had sex in 2 years, you know. I've seen a couple who said, okay, the woman was asking that, is it okay, like, is it possible for her to leave her husband, to have a divorce, you know, file for a divorce on the basis of lack of sex, you know? Do you understand? I don't know if you understand that. You know,
yes.
her, that's something I saw that I was really touched when I saw that particular question. In fact, the woman even went ahead. I've done a video on this that I'm talking about because it really touched me. Like, she even went ahead to say that, oh, she discovered that, like, she has discovered her husband over and over, and nothing has changed. Do you understand? But nothing has changed about it. But then she found out that she was always hard, you know, grumpy, aggressive, and all that. And she will even transfer the aggression to her mate, you know, according to her, that she will transfer the aggression to her mate, you know, and that really touched me. And gave me, as it opened my eyes to the fact that, look, your boss that has been very aggressive, that has been very sad with, you know, that has been very difficult, it might not have anything to do with you. It might not have anything to do with what you have done or what you have not done. It might just be his or our own personal struggle, you know, at that particular time. And that brings me to say that it's important for us to be kind to other people, you know, just empathize with people, you know, be patient with people, and just, you know, and
thank you so much.
And all of that. So for me, it's better for you to probably schedule it, you know, based on your schedule, your season, the season you are in as a couple. So it may just be a wise thing to schedule sex. But for some other couples, it may be something that comes naturally, you know, easily, that they don't struggle with. In that case, you may just flow with your spontaneous.
Absolutely, Ma. Thank you so much for that brilliant. You didn't just answer. You gave us insight from from your wealth of experience. So thank you so much. I also agree 100% with you that scheduled sex is better than no sex. In ideal terms, it should be spontaneous, but we have different seasons of life. We have different seasons, and in some cases, especially for women, men can just think about sex and have sex. For women, there has to be a mental preparation. In most cases, there has to be a mental preparation. So, like you mentioned rightly, scheduled sex is better than no sex. So please, as much as possible, ensure that you're having a wholesome sex life. So I will continue by talking about the biblical aspects of why is sex necessary. Number one is for procreation. Genesis 1 verse 28 says, God blessed them and he said, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. How would they replenish the earth? I know that context is not just talking about marriage and fulfillment of fruitfulness in terms of children. There's so many aspects of fruitfulness, but one of them is for procreation. The second one is pleasure. God created sex for pleasure. So it is not a bad thing. It is a beautiful experience for bonding, for warmth, all the things I say. How she thinks. So when they are bringing up new suggestions, you're already like, what is this person even saying? Try as much as possible not to see your partner finish. Let there still be this, this is it giddiness, this something about them that makes you always want to listen to them. It's something that it doesn't just happen that way. It is intentional. I don't know if anyone can hear me. Please, if you can hear me, please just comment in the chat box so that I can know that I'm still audible. Another thing is showing affection. Please, if you can hear me, please connect. Okay, we're back. Okay, so I was talking about, thank you everyone. I was talking about tips to reinforce intimacy. Another one is showing affection. Let us try as much as possible to show affection to our partners. We need to stop all these bland emotions. Physical and non-physical touch is important in marriage. I think I was listening to, is it Pastor Iren, and he was talking about physical touch. As little as a touch can do a lot. Like I mentioned, I talked about the science of exercise and love. Touch alone, like touching, can lead to some release and rush of hormones by somebody. Do you understand me? So please, let's as much as possible try to create that physical touch. Ensure that before you leave your house in a day, I'm not saying that you must have penetrative sex. At least hug your partner, hug your. It can be a 10 seconds kiss. It can be a peg. It can be. Just try as much as possible to please show affection. Number 3 thing is spend quality time. We're talking about tips to reinforce intimacy in marriage. Spend quality time with your partner. It could just be 30 minutes or have conversations, work together. You can take walks together. You can schedule regular dates. If maybe because of some economic conditions and unable to go out, you can create a date in your house. All you need is popcorn. What else? Or it can even be a movie night. All you need is popcorn, put off the lights and watch your movie. Enjoy yourself. Let us try as much as possible to create beauty even when things don't seem beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much, my brother, for your comments. It's giving me ginger. Another thing is do choose together. You can cook together. You can clean the house together. You can take care of the children together. You can eat together. There was one couple I know. They eat in the same plate, and so I'm the kind of person that I really don't like to eat with people on the same plate. So I just feel like, is this this not too much? Is this not too much PDA? But it works for them. So find what works for you and do it. Just ensure that every day, 24 hours must not pass. And you must ensure that there's some form of physical connection, physical touch. Another thing is express love and appreciation. A lot of times, this see finish thing is killing relationships and marriage. So many times, the little, and I believe that the little things really, really count. A lot of times, some people don't even appreciate their spouse. Is Coco the father of your children? Is Coco the father of his children? So he will pay their school fees. Yes, he's responsible for the children, but a little thank you can give him some level of appreciation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for directing me. Thank you for advising me. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being my husband. Thank you for being my wife. Thank you for taking care of the children. No matter, even sometimes, these magic words they taught us. Thank you and sorry.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Can I continue?
Yes, please. Sorry.
So I was saying the magic words we were taught when we were children. Thank you and sorry. Those two words are powerful. I've seen men that can't say sorry. Why? Sometimes you might not even mean it, but just say it. It is the starting point. It's the foundation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of the children. Thank you for paying their school fees. Thank you for supporting my career. Thank you for advising me. Thank you for teaching me. No matter how little it is, please let's try as much as possible to appreciate our spouses. Another thing is be vulnerable. You cannot overemphasize it. Vulnerability without you can't. So let's try as much as possible. I know it is not an easy thing to be vulnerable, especially for men. Let's try as much as possible to be vulnerable with our spouses. Another thing that is practical is we should establish routines that keep us close. Like I mentioned, thank you. Anyone mentioned, he said, because women, you cannot really tell what offends us. So just say the sorry ahead of time so that all will be well that ends well. Another thing is, please let's try as much as possible to support our partner. You are the person's cheerleader. Try as much as possible, support your partner. Set goals together. I watched a couple on Instagram recently that by I think December last year, they planned their year. They started prayerfully. You'll be encouraged. Set financial goals together, set money goals together, set spiritual goals together, set health goals together. These things are possible. Keep learning about your partner. Like I said, we evolve on a daily basis. Who I was last year is not who I am today. A lot has changed about me. So you cannot base your knowledge on your spouse on what happened last year. I've grown. I have improved. I have gotten better in some things. Maybe I'm slacking in some things, but you need to keep, you must not slack. You must be intentional for a successful and a wholesome sex life. And another thing I need to mention is when you've tried all these things that I've itemized, get help. And you see that things are not getting better, please, you can get help. We have relationship counselors. This beautiful woman I'm looking at is a relationship counselor. She's a coach. There are many other people that you can get help from. You can watch videos, you can get help. And I'm talking about professional help, not my pastor said. I know there are some pastors that are actually professional, certified counselors, but you can get help. So there is help available. Okay, so another thing I need to mention is we've talked about factors that help to stimulate your intimacy. There are factors that also inhibit intimacy, and one of them, which is a very significant one, is painful sex, dyspareunia. Painful sex. If somebody is something that should give you pleasure is giving you pain, you will run away from it. There are several factors. Yeah, there are several factors that cause dyspareunia. We have physical factors. So, for instance, some men or women might have infections. It could even be sexually transmitted infections. It could be cervicitis. It could be an inflammation that is not causing easy penetration, endometriosis, pelvic floor dysfunction, even fibroid disease. These things can actually cause painful sex, which is not meant to be. Psychological causes, emotional stress. There's some women that don't have any form of support, so they are exhausted already in the day, and you're telling her to come and do what? Or some men are going through a lot of mental stress. They're trying to pay bills. They're trying to do this. A lot of pressure. Please, as much as possible, these things can cause painful sexual intercourse. So let's try as much as possible to ensure that if you notice that there is something wrong, please get help. First of all, you're not alone. I don't think you are isolated. Seek help. There are gynecologists, there are urologists, there are sex therapists, there are relationship therapists that can help and think better. There are hormonal factors, trauma, even trauma can cause pain. Sexual abuse, maybe a previous history of sexual assault can also cause pain during sexual intercourse. Hormonal factors like maybe menopause or even pregnancy or even postpartum, you are healing. It can cause painful sexual intercourse. When you notice, don't keep quiet and say, let me just manage. Please speak up. Like I said, vulnerability is key. There are anatomical factors that can also cause painful sex. And also, in some cases, it might even be from the man's aspect. There can be an abnormal curvature of the penis that makes it difficult for him to penetrate a woman. So those factors are also there. And like I said, there you can get specialized care. There are specialists, gynecologists, urologists that can help. And I would also talk about the mind and sex. Like I mentioned that for men, it is more spontaneous. But for women, a large percentage, I can't get the statistics right now, but a large percentage of women, they require some level of mental preparation before sex can happen. And that's why for women, foreplay is essentially important. I'm saying essentially important because it is quite important. Your mind is your greatest, what I call it, is your greatest sex tool, if there's something like that. If your mind is not prepared, I'm sorry, you will not have a pleasurable sex life. So as much as possible, please let's ensure that we are keeping our mind in check. I wrote down here that the most important sexual organ is the mind. A lot of people have mindless sex. Let me just do it for the sake of it. No, it is a beautiful experience. It is to be enjoyed. Yes, it is not just let me just do it and stand up and get out. Maybe it's 10 minutes. I will do it and get out. No, in as much as I know that in not okay. Let me just continue that. We should be mindful, we should be intentional and think about sex. I said earlier that we should have communications about sex. Be open and honest about it. Talk about sex with your partner. It is not something strange. Engage your spouse in intimate conversations. Create and store memories of good sexual experience. The truth about it is not all sexual experiences that will be good. In as much as your mind is there are some days that it might not just click. Some things might not just happen. You understand? But you have a memory. We all know that we have cloud now. You have a memory, you have a bank that you've had previous pleasant, pleasurable sexual experiences. You can go back to that cloud and search. You can search, you can download, you can reminisce, you can share with your spouse so that you can create that bond again because it's important. It is important for our lives. So the second question I'm going to be asking you, Ma, is we'll be talking about orgasm now because I know that sometimes a lot of women, I don't know if we had a lot of women here or men, I would have said, okay, how many of us have reached orgasm this year? And I will see the statistics. At least we can use this to generate what I can say next. But I don't think that is so much of an important question because I believe that sex is a journey. I know that, yes, the goal is to reach the peak, which is orgasm, but it doesn't always happen. So even if it doesn't happen, enjoy the journey while you're on it. Enjoy the journey. So Ma, I want you to quickly help us to answer this question. Should you have an orgasm and must you have an orgasm?
Should you what?
Should you have an orgasm? You said orgasm is the highest sexual pleasure. So should you as a woman, a married woman, is it compulsory that at every time you have sex with your husband, the goal is orgasm? If it doesn't happen, no have sex. And must you have an
I think
orgasm?
you've already said something about that earlier on. Like, it doesn't have to be always, in my opinion. If you have it at all times, fantastic. But if not, you can have a pleasurable sex without having an orgasm, in my opinion. You can enjoy, especially as a woman. I strongly believe that you can enjoy sex without necessarily experiencing an orgasm. But the most important thing is for you to enjoy, as in to ensure that your your days of enjoyment are better, are way more than your days of suffering. So to say, did I
Yes.
say
Thank
something?
you.
Days of, you understand what I mean? So,
I
because
understand
yeah, just
you.
like generally, good days and the bad days. Yeah. So that's what I think.
Yes. Yes. So
But
there
of
are the
course,
good
that's
days
not
and
in
the
any
bad
way
days.
to say that you shouldn't strive to, as a woman or as a man.
Yes.
That doesn't mean
Yes.
that you shouldn't
Yes. Yes.
strive to
Yes.
satisfy your spouse. And of course,
Absolutely.
everybody. I think I put up a post on my Facebook pages, maybe on, was it on, like few days ago, and I was talking about the fact that the responsibility of having a great, consistently great sex life lies on both partners. Do you understand? So I strongly
True.
believe that even having that orgasm, you also have a part to play
Yes.
in it
There's no part,
to a great
there's no
extent. Yes.
part.
Yeah.
Both partners
Yes.
actively searching for it. Yes. So
Yes. And
definitely. Thank you
we
so
are
much.
in a world where there's a lot of information, a lot of useful information that would help. If that is something you struggle with and you would like to really experience, of course, there are a lot of information out there that will be beneficial. You can at least start from there. Start from getting the right information, and then you start implementing. You will definitely see that things will be better. So that's what I think.
Thank you so much, Ma. So I would just like to add from the medical aspect that we all know it's not news. Everybody knows about the clitoris, and that is one of the high points of every woman. Unfortunately, some women have been caught, female genital cutting, and maybe that might not enable them because many times we focus on the clitoris. There are other erogenous zones in the woman.
Yeah.
It's not just the clitoris. So for many that will say, my wife told me that she had female maybe something was tampered with in that region. It doesn't mean there are other. That's why it's important to study. See, when you are married, your wife is like your project. Your husband is like your project. You need to ensure that because before you can start a project, you will do needs assessment. You will check timelines. You need to ensure that at every interval, like you are chasing after them, you are not slacking. You need to be intentional. You need to be intentional. You need to be running after them like, this person, how far? What's going on now? You need to be on your, as in, you need to keep tabs with them to ensure that you guys are
Yeah.
growing together.
Learning about each other's body from time
Thank
to time.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. The learning doesn't stop. It's a continuous process. It's a continuous process and it takes a lot of, it's not an easy process actually, but if you want, so the most important thing is what is your goal? Do you want a successful marriage? Do you want a wholesome sex life? Okay, and I'll quickly like to read it. Don't lose the excitement. Thank you so much, Mark, for your contribution. It was really, really apt. The intimacy, the bonding, the communication, the communion that you enjoy with your spouse during sex, just because you don't have an orgasm. So yes, we know that the goal is to have an orgasm, but even if it doesn't happen, enjoy the journey, enjoy the moment. Don't let the desire for an orgasm steal the pleasure you get from intimacy with your partner. Yes. And ejaculation and orgasm are two different things. Ejaculation is a physical representation of excitement. A man can ejaculate even if he doesn't have orgasm. Orgasm is
Yeah.
a mental thing. So your mind has to be prepared that this is where I want to get to. And we get there in Jesus' name. So the
Amen.
next thing we're rounding up soon because I think we've spent a lot of time. So the next thing is tips to have sexual pleasure. Like I mentioned, I'm just reiterating things that I've said earlier. Don't try to reach an orgasm because if you say if your goal is I must reach, the anxiety can set in, the pressure can set in, and when you don't get there, you become if there's a feeling of rejection, there's a feeling of we didn't achieve what we are meant to achieve. So don't even try to achieve it, enjoy the process, and by that time you are relaxed, you are relieved, you are vulnerable, you are free, and you've surrendered all, and all goes well. Learn about your body. I can't overemphasize this. Slow down. Sex is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Allow for communication even while having sex. Allow for open communication. I like this, I don't like this. I think you should stop this. I think you should hold on. I think you should continue this. All these things are important. Focus on the sensation. Focus on it. Don't just and we are done. Oh, enjoy the moment, communicate, give feedback. Please, when you are giving your feedback, use the sandwich approach. Don't just say, this was bad, I don't like it. No, first of all, compliment on what the person did that you like. Then you cannot say, but I think we could have done it this way. And thank you, because I know you are going to do it this way. Do you understand? It should be a sandwich approach so that the person also doesn't we all are big, both men and women, so that our ego is not dampened and the man doesn't want to try something new, or the woman doesn't want to try something new, or the man is saying, you are not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing this particular style the way I want. Try as much as possible to have open conversations, be vulnerable at the same time, be respectful at the same time, communicate in a positive way. When you're criticizing, give positive criticism, constructive criticism, not criticism that keep repeating. Yes, then surrender all. When you surrender, I surrender to Jesus, surrender to your spouse, so you will enjoy sex. So I'll wrap it up now. Regular exercise improves relationship satisfaction, quality. It reduces conflict. When you exercise, you're exercising with your partner. We are both going to the gym together. We are both laughing at the way we are. Maybe we're on the treadmill or something, or how many reps they have done, or how many reps have done. It increases positive communication. Physical activity fosters a sense of teamwork and cooperation. This man is an island. You need your partner to survive. I've mentioned this earlier. Regular dates that involve physical activity, try new exercises and activities together, incorporate physical, no matter how small it is. 10 seconds of sex, 10 seconds of kissing can go a long way. 10 seconds of hugging, of petting, touching, of those nice things go a long way in your marriage, in your sex life. Make exercise a priority and schedule it in your daily routine. And this is just a call to action to encourage women to prioritize, because we're celebrating women this month. And so our emphasis is on the women. We have some men who have said, thank you so much, we really appreciate you. But the emphasis is on women. We are encouraging ourselves. It is a pleasure to be a woman. I know that, yes, we have some very tough and challenging times, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I am thankful that I'm a woman. There's this song I usually like, oh, be in me. We are complete, we are whole, we are complete in Christ. So yes, the topic of tonight's discussion is, and I hope it will be an interactive session, and I hope more women will join so that we can have questions at the end of the day. The topic tonight is body, mind, and love, how exercise impacts your love life, which is a very broad topic, but I try as much as possible to just make it really easy for us to understand and relatable, because intimacy is something we all practice, whether physical or non-physical intimacy, in one way or the other. And exercise is something that is essential for every human. Like in church today, we talked about the characteristics of living beings. Mr. Niger D, everybody, for you to be a living creature, you must go through Mr. Niger D. So exercise is essential, and exercise is, in short, funny enough, in the Mr. Niger D, M, which is movement. If you are not moving, then something is wrong. There is this popular gospel that says, I can't remember how he says it, but movement in life is maybe dependent on God or something like that. So you have to be moving. Is either you move something or something moves you, but you can't be static in life. So I will exercise this, and I will define what intimacy is. So exercise has three adjectives that are very strategic. Exercise is physical activity that is planned, that is structured. So, some people would say, I walk to the market, I exercise. No, if it is not planned, if it's not structured, it's not repetitive, it is not exercise. So those three adjectives have to be fulfilled for you to be exercise. And it must have an aim of improving or maintaining physical activity or physical fitness or health or well-being. Exercise is tailored towards something. It is not just haphazard. Exercise it has to be planned, it has to be strategic, and it has to be repetitive for it to be called exercise. To your place of work is not exercise if it is not planned, if exercise. And it's also important to know that besides exercise just being exercise also has been one of the solutions to, will I say, manage chronic health conditions. For instance, hypertension. Before we can even start a patient on medications, we will first, depending on the grade of the high blood pressure, we would first of all ask you, are there some things in your life that you can change? Lifestyle modifications, exercise. Are there things that you can do, first of all, before we place you on medication? So it has not, so this is not just hearsay, this is scientific. Exercise has been proven to manage chronic medical conditions. So I would, besides chronic medical conditions, even mental health issues, even intimacy. Exercise has actually done a lot to improve intimacy. So I'll talk about intimacy now and defining intimacy. I have my notes here, so I'll be looking into my laptop as time permits me. So